Hello and welcome to this episode of the Bariatric Nutrition Coach podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking all about reaching your protein goals after having your weight loss surgery.
Welcome to the Bariatric Nutrition Coach podcast, where we empower you with weight loss surgery, nutrition knowledge, mindset advice, and inspiration so you succeed in your weight and health journey. I'm your host, Jane Stoltz, and I am a bariatric dietitian who has helped over 1,300 people on their weight loss surgery journeys. I'm also a solo mum, lover of long walks while listening to podcasts, partial to a glass of wine, and the ocean is my happy place. Join me as I dive deep into bariatric nutrition and lifestyle topics and deliver them to you in bite-sized, palatable episodes every Monday. Now let's go.
It is such a common challenge for many people at every stage after having weight loss surgery, more so in the early days when you have more restriction, lower appetite, and protein can feel like this mountain every day you've got to climb to reach your protein goal. Because protein is satisfying. We have a small amount of it. We get satisfied, especially in those early days post-surgery. And so while it's a real challenge to reach protein goals, it is such a worthwhile goal to get there, because not only do you get adequate protein for your body, for all the metabolic reasons that we need protein, but through that process, you learn where does your protein come from, how to achieve your goals, and ideally that's what you're learning in the early days after your surgery. Because protein goals aren't static. It's not like you get a goal after surgery, which a really common one is 60 to 80 grams of protein, and that is cookie cutter. It's not personalised. You need a more personalised protein goal. But say you get a figure from your bariatric dietitian, it doesn't mean that it stays there forever. We need to adjust your protein goals through your bariatric journey. And it's very normal for them to go up in time to keep you more satisfied. Also, as we get older, we need more protein. And certain things happen in our lives that we actually need to eat more protein from a health perspective, recovery, a whole range of things. That's why there's just no one protein goal. People might message me and say, Jane, this amount of time from 6 months post-surgery, how many calories should I be eating? How much protein should I be eating? That is not how it works. It's not one size fits all. And we are going to assume, as I work through and walk you through reaching your protein goals after your surgery, I'm just going to assume you've got a protein goal. And it's more specific than 60 to 80 grams of protein. And the reason why I want to do this is, and as I said, reaching your protein goals can be a real challenge for many people. Some people, restriction isn't as tight, or appetite isn't as low after their bariatric surgery. It's all good. They get there. That's fine. Other people is really a big challenge because your tool of the surgery is working really strongly for you. Okay. And we have this sense of, well, I don't feel as hungry. I don't need to eat as much. And we don't want to be forcing food in. We don't want to be pushing past our comfort level, but we still need, even though you need less energy overall, and you need the amount of food you're having is less after your bariatric surgery, we still need to get adequate protein. And we don't store protein in the body. We store fat in the body, adipose tissue. We carbohydrates in the body as glycogen, but we don't store protein. So we need to get it regularly every day. We need to get enough protein every day. And the bariatric diet is not a high protein diet. It's an adequate protein diet. We don't store protein in our body, so we need it every day. We store fat in our body as adipose tissue. We store carbohydrate in our body as glycogen, in our liver and our muscles. We don't store protein, so we do need to have it every day, have enough every day. Now, I'm going to walk you through 4 key habits to help you reach your protein goals. And if you listen to my other podcast episodes, I like to give a structure, to give actionable steps. I want you to be able to stop this podcast, maybe grab a pen and paper or put notes in your phone and actually have actionable steps to take to make the changes that you need. Okay, so let me step you through the 4 key habits to help you reach your protein goals. The first habit, and I'm using the habits loosely because the first one is really about knowing the key foods in your diet which provide you protein. So this is about really, I'm calling it a habit, but it's really knowledge, but it does link to the other habits. Knowledge of where your protein's coming from. Knowing where your protein's coming from, and often people's high protein foods come down to 5, 6, 7 foods in their diet. Kind of knowing what they look like on the plate, how much protein do they give you? Learning how to estimate that protein and how to track. And I'm a big fan of tracking pen on paper. We can get a lot of lovely information from pen on paper tracking. We're not distracted by the numbers, calories, carbs, and all those other things that the apps show us when we're tracking on an app. If you like tracking on an app, that's fine, but it doesn't negate the need to do some weighing of food, looking up how much protein's in that food. I can eat roughly this amount of chicken. Let me weigh it. How much protein has that got in there? And really being clear on the foods that give you protein. Because over the years, so many people say, oh, Jane, I'm eating this food. I know it's high protein. And it's not a high protein food. So we can get kind of different messages from the media that aren't correct. We really want to be clear about the key foods in your diet that are going to provide you key protein so you can reach your protein goals. So that's number 1. Habit number 2 is to make the star of each meal, this is how I put it, the star of each meal lean protein. So what does that mean? It means when you look at your plate, the main ingredient or the most prominent ingredient is lean protein. Learning how to plate your food up. We are focusing our meal around a lean protein. And that's why when you're in those kind of early to medium days after your bariatric surgery, we want to keep introducing new foods into the diet. We want to build the most varied diet we can after your weight loss surgery so you have lots of great options. So you have an enjoyable diet and a healthy diet. Variety means greater enjoyment and greater health because we've got more foods to choose from. So we want to make sure we've really tried all the different lean proteins we can, worked out what sit well for us, what we enjoy, how to cook them, and really know how to make and plate up a meal where the star of your meal is protein. Okay, and this can take some time, and sometimes in those early to medium days, a food doesn't sit well. A food doesn't sit well in your tummy, and we need to park it to the side a little bit for a time. And that's fine, we can park it, but we want to kind of re-look at that and try it again a bit further down the track. We also want to say, okay, is it how I'm cooking that food or is it how I'm eating that food? So we want to kind of keep evolving our diet. And often I find people can get really kind of, especially the 2 to 4 month mark after their surgery, they can get really stuck and kind of stop expanding their diet. And that can be a real challenge, and it certainly doesn't help people reach their protein goals. So learning how to plate your food up, the star of the meal is your protein, and we have some of those other foods around it, whole grains, fruit and veg, but we're really putting enough good protein on the plate to really give us a good chance at eating adequate protein. So that's habit number 2. Habit number 3, and I love this topic, I talk about it all the time. This habit is to have regular meals and snacks across the day. Your schedule is going to look different, and your eating schedule is going to look different over your life after bariatric surgery. It just is, because as you can eat a bit more, we don't have to eat so often after having your surgery. But I always start my clients out with, especially if they're early to medium days or they're not reaching their protein goals, no matter where they are, 5 small meals: breakfast, mid-morning, lunch, mid-afternoon, tea, that's what I call it, or you can call it just a snack, and dinner. This is not grazing. This is not picking across the day. These are small, deliberate, mindfully placed meals, and we spread them out. And one, regular eating helps regulate appetite. But also, when we have regular meals and we have enough of them across the day, it helps you reach your protein goals. You cannot eat enough at one or a few meals or 3 meals a day to reach your protein goals comfortably, particularly in the early to medium days. In time, you can drop down to 4 meals and see how that works. But we need to adjust the schedule because we want to get that kind of the food going in regular intervals across the day. And that also helps because we have those chunks or sections of time in between those meals where you can drink. And that also helps you in turn reach your fluid goals. So regular meals are so important. That's often one of the key things that I do with my clients to ensure that they're kind of really chipping away, I call it, at their protein goals across the day. And I also, another way I think about it is we're wanting to put together the whole picture by the end of the day, our fluid and our protein. And those meals are kind of pieces of that puzzle. And when we chip away at them and complete them over the day, we're putting together that whole puzzle and we get to the end of the day, we've eaten enough protein, we've had enough fluid.
Now tell me, is this you? You have had your bariatric surgery and you're feeling lost, you're lacking support and you don't know what to eat and when. Or you may have noticed after your surgery, your hunger and cravings have started to return and you are scared you won't reach your goals. You may have had some weight regain and you want to stop the weight regain and lose some more weight. You may be pre-surgery and you want support to be fully prepared for your weight loss surgery journey. If any of these sound like you, then listen up. I have developed my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp just for you. My coaching program provides education, coaching and community for people getting ready for their weight loss surgery and at every stage after their surgery.
You were so fantastic. You didn't just go, here you go, off you go. You were like, right, here you go. Let's do it step by step. And it's that step by step. If somebody's prepared to help you like that, it's immeasurable. It's priceless.
Your help just changed the game for me, right? It just changed the trajectory of my ability to understand what my body's telling me and trusting it. That was a hard one, right? Because my body, I can override it in a lot of ways in the past.
I think that hiring Jane has actually been the best thing that I've done. I was lost. I had no idea what to expect. I've never done bariatric surgery before. I've never had it done before. So yes, you have all the information from your surgeon and from their nutritionist and all that sort of stuff. If you have lifetime support, that's great. But a lot of times you don't. So you need to take that next step and invest in yourself because that's what it is. It's the most amazing investment that I've made.
There are 4 key areas that I focus on with my clients in my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp. One is the Bariatric Nutrition Basics. You will learn what and how to eat so you feel satisfied, reach your protein and fluid goals and have less cravings, and know how to manage your hunger in the future. Meal ideas and meal planning. You'll learn to plan meals and snacks that you like, so you have great options on hand when it comes time to eat. Also, we focus on mastering weight regain habits, identifying any habits that are stopping you from reaching your goals and create manageable strategies to get back on the straight and narrow so you can manage your weight for the rest of your life. And also, I focus with my clients in my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp on learning to trust your body and food. Start to enjoy your food again by relearning to listen to your body cues so you have less guilt and improve your relationship with food and your body. If you are ready to maximize your weight loss surgery results, feel confident in your journey and be led with support and expert guidance, then the Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp is for you. If you would like to know more about my coaching program, check out the link in the show notes.
And the last habit I want to talk about is going to be more common for the early to medium days after your bariatric surgery. It can also be very helpful later down the track, and that is leveraging drinking some of your protein. It is so much easier to drink your protein than eat it. And I'm sure you can relate to this example of having a few bites of chicken, more solid protein, whether it be lamb or eggs. You have a few bites and your body says, that is it. I've had enough. And you think, oh goodness, how am I actually going to reach my protein goals? How am I going to get enough in? And while that's a challenge and it's really hard in the early to medium days, the satiety that we get from solid protein is a godsend in the long term because we can keep satisfied at a lower energy intake by leveraging protein. So it's so much easier to drink our protein than eat it. And an example I give is we can have 2 eggs. You can put 2 eggs on the plate. And that's around 13, 14 kind of grams of protein, depending on the size of your eggs. But you have a little shake of 15 grams of protein, a little shake, less than a cup volume. It is so much easier to get through that shake. It's more comfortable. You don't feel like you're forcing it down. You can comfortably get through that shake in a half an hour period, which is the length of time that I set for my clients for eating. We don't want to be eating over longer periods of time. It turns into grazing. So drinking some of your protein, using protein powders in shakes to make up, or whether it's fortifying a coffee and having a proffee or having a protein shake that people sometimes call a smoothie because we're adding maybe a bit of fruit in, and we can do that. But we want to have not too big ones and not big volumes, but leveraging drinking your protein. Easier to reach your protein goals in the early to medium days, and we often need to have protein shakes at that time. Later on down the track, for many people, they can be really important as well. We don't want to live off protein shakes, but we can use them strategically. Maybe having breakfast, getting adequate protein in that early part of the day is really hard. You're getting kids out of the house, dropping off, commuting to work, and a shake really is something you can start when you're doing the lunches at home, but continue and drink during your commute. Alternatively, you may have a job where you can't stop and have a mindful meal and kind of sit down and eat slowly. You are hands-on the whole day, or you have long meetings. I've had clients who are going to meeting after meeting after meeting that go over meal times. If you don't eat regularly after having weight loss surgery, you can feel really crummy. So we can have shakes in there strategically. So we can use them at every stage after your weight loss surgery in your bariatric journey, but we do it mindfully and we know why we're using them. And in time, moving from those very early days, we can put things in them to add more fibre into them. So let me recap. 4 habits to help you reach your protein goals. And you may have known about these or been doing them in the past, or they might be new. But I just want to recap so you can kind of write them down if this is what you're struggling with and look at each of them one at a time. First one is really knowing the key foods in your diet that provide you protein, knowing how much you can eat roughly, how much protein that's giving you. Knowledge is really key. We're not talking in-depth calories or anything like that. We just really want to focus on what are the key protein foods in my diet? How much does this amount of food provide me? And knowing how to estimate your protein intake is super, super important. Number 2 is making sure that the star of each meal and snack is a lean protein and that you've got enough variety in your diet to have some great different lean proteins as the star of your meal. Number 3 is eating regularly across the day. You cannot eat enough at a few meals to reach your protein goals. We need to chip away at those goals over the day. And number 4 is using protein shakes, drinking some of your protein when and how you need to reach your protein goals. And in those early days, you'll be drinking much more of your protein than later down the track, but we can use them at every stage of your bariatric journey. So that's it. We've talked about 4 key habits that you can work through to help you reach your protein goals. This may be new information, but it may also be some really great reminders for you. If you have, maybe I call it taking your eye off the protein ball, taking your eye off the ball for some time, and further down the track after bariatric surgery, it happens. You stop paying attention to and checking in on your protein intake. And what naturally happens, because I've seen it so many times over the years, your protein intake drifts down, and at the same time, what increases is your carbohydrate and fat intake. So protein intake drifts down because we're not paying attention to it like we used to. And what drifts up is fat and carbohydrate intake. Often carbohydrate intake, and some of those carbohydrate foods have fat in them, that increases. And the overall outcome is that energy intake increases. And what does that lead to? That leads to weight regain. Because carbohydrate foods are not as satisfying, don't keep us satisfied, or we have to eat more of them to be satisfied, and they don't keep us satisfied for as long. So your energy intake drifts up, and that leads to weight regain. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you found it of value. I hope it's maybe inspired you to relook at protein in your diet, or given you some tips, if you're in those early days, some tips to help you reach your protein goals. Thank you so much for listening, and I really look forward to being back in your ears soon. Bye for now.